Hey guys, the following video is a clip that I carved out from a video that's on my channel called 3 years since I quit investment banking. My life has totally changed. Now I understand that the title of that video may have given the impression that it's a video about investment banking. And so I kind of understand where a friend Ashwin Kumar is coming from, and maybe I shouldn't have been such a dick to him. But let me tell you that the snippet that I've carved out has got to do with anything but investment banking. So it's about a topic that, unlike investment banking, every single one of you will be able to relate to. Also, if you haven't checked out details about my upcoming workshop called the A to Z of professional development, how to land your dream job and excel in it, make sure that you check it out. Limited period offer currently available. Over to the video now. You know, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but ever since the start of lockdown 1.0, so in early 2020 up until now, so like the last 16 months or so, they've been a complete game changer for me. And look, I do not mean to be insensitive to people who faced harsher consequences because of the lockdown, but the lockdown for me, personally speaking, has done wonders for me. And the reason I'm saying that is because, look, I wasn't commuting to a workplace, right? So I was saving a lot of time. I wasn't necessarily spending 8 to 10 hours at an office every single day. Like, I was working from home. And when you're working from home, you don't necessarily have to be pretending to work if you don't have work, like you have to do in an office. So I had a lot of extra time on hand. I was actually bored. I was actually idle. But that boredom or that idleness actually had a salutary effect. Instead of always feeling that I had to do, I just started being. I just started thinking a lot more. I learned so much about myself. I honestly have learned a lot more about myself these last 1.5 years than I did during the 27 years of my life that preceded the start of lockdown 1.0. That's how staggering an effect lockdown had on me. I started realizing, Anubhav, these are the unique set of skills, strengths, and qualities that you have. And I started thinking of ways in which I can actually pick a career or pick a profession or pick an avocation that dovetails with these unique qualities that I have. I started learning about my quirks, my idiosyncrasies, and how exactly I can actually leverage them or take advantage of these unique quirks that I have. In other words, for the first time in my life, for the first time in 27 years, I really started acting in accordance with who I truly am. And it's such a beautiful feeling that now I'd rather be a shitty version of who I am as opposed to be the best version of someone who I'm not. What self-awareness also did for me is that it made me realize that a lot of the attributes that I have, that I used to consider to be flaws, that I used to be hard on myself for, that I used to blame myself for, aren't necessarily a product of my actions, of my doing. A lot of them actually ensue from the complex relationship that I had with my mother while growing up during my most impressionable years. A lot of them were genetically hardwired in me. Look, this is not to say that it's never your fault, but sometimes it's not as much your fault as you might think it is. And because of these very profound realizations that I had, I honestly started developing a lot more empathy with myself. I started loving myself a lot more, which brings me to my next point. 2020 changed my life, not only because I started being myself for the first time in my life, like I talked about in the previous point, but also because I started loving myself for the first time ever. I started empathizing with myself, like I said. I started treating myself like someone I truly cared for, like someone I'm responsible for helping out. I also developed a healthy sense of self-obsession. And you know, this might be a bold opinion or an unpopular opinion, but being mildly self-obsessed has honestly done more good than harm for me. Instead of actually looking at the peculiar aspects of my character as demerits or disadvantages, I actually started looking at them as unique traits that I have, that are actually an advantage as opposed to a disadvantage. And I honestly think that's what changed my luck with women as well. You know, instead of feeling that I have to bend over backwards to come across as a quintessence of perfection and to come across as someone who's fine and prim and proper and sophisticated, I just started being a lot more open and honest and vulnerable, and someone who's comfortable in his own skin, and someone who respects himself despite the flaws and the imperfections that he has. I'm going to drive home this penultimate point by stating the title of a book that I have not read, but it's a title that's definitely left an indelible impact on me. And the title is Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It, because I think it truly, truly does. And the reason I say that is because, look, if you don't love yourself, if you don't respect yourself, how can you expect others to respect you? You know, just like self-awareness makes you empathize with yourself, it makes you empathize with others as well. You know, when you realize how flawed, how imperfect you are, how effed up you are, pardon my French, you will become a lot more tolerant of others and their imperfections and flaws and the effed up aspects of their nature. But it's our imperfections that actually make us such fascinating creatures. I'm not kidding, but over the last 1.5 years or so, my love for human beings has doubled, has quadrupled. You know, so much so that I actually feel really sorry for misanthropes. I love human beings. I love human nature. I love human emotions. I love the complex and irrational and the flawed creatures that we actually are. It's so beautiful. And it's because of this love for human beings that I have that stems from greater empathy, which in turn stems from enhanced self-awareness, that I can actually empathize with the likes of Steve Smith, David Warner, Cameron Bancroft, you know, the guys who were involved in the ball tampering scandal. Look, I'm not condoning what they did. They deserved to be punished. But all I'm trying to say is that they did that because they had this mentality that they had to win at all costs. That's the philosophy that Australian cricket had hammered into their psyche. And so they were like, you know, we have to do whatever it takes to win. And I think it's safe to say that all of us have done things that have been immoral only because we've been driven by this great will to win at all costs. In conclusion, I think it's very important for me to clarify that, look, I don't want you to misinterpret this video as me telling you to never change, just be the way you are, love yourself at all costs, pamper yourself. I'm not asking you to be a pussy. Be hard on yourself. But look, there's a big difference between being hard on yourself because you hate yourself and being hard on yourself because you truly care for yourself and your betterment as a person. And the genesis or the root of you starting to truly care for yourself lies in self-awareness. Ashwin bhai, investment banking का नाम भी नहीं लिया इस वीडियो में. अब तो आप खुश. Anyway, love you and love the rest of you. Don't forget about the workshop. Until next time, take care, stay safe, keep smashing it, and cheers.